Hi everyone, it's Caroline from Ritchie Scientific Consulting, and today I wanted to walk through some of the common misconceptions I hear about working as a regulatory medical writer. So we're going to walk through a couple questions and kind of treat it as a little pop quiz, and I'll walk through the answers to 5 common misconceptions. Question 1, an advanced degree is required, true or false? That is false. While there are a lot of regulatory medical writers who do have advanced degrees, from PhDs, MDs, PharmDs, RNs, name a degree, and there's probably a medical writer out there that has that degree. It's absolutely not required. And actually, some of the best regulatory medical writers that I've worked with in the past have not had advanced degrees. So it is definitely not required to get into the field or to become a successful regulatory medical writer. Question 2, medical writing is a great career for introverts, true or false? So that's actually a trick question. It can be true and it can be false. Myself, I lie a little bit on the introvert side of the spectrum. I find a lot of interactions, social commitments, energizing at first, but then they really exhaust me. And medical writing is definitely not the type of career where you're sitting at a desk working solo all the time. It is very cross-functional, very interactive, lots of meetings, lots of discussions, conversations, strategy meetings. So there is a lot of interactions. And also as a medical writer, not only are you attending a lot of meetings, but oftentimes you're leading meetings. So I have regularly led meetings of 20, 50, even 100 people, depending on the type of meeting. And often I'm the one presenting, I'm the one on camera. So being comfortable with that, yeah, it definitely sometimes takes me outside of my comfort zone, but I also really enjoy the challenge. So just keep that in mind, depending on, what you enjoy, what you're comfortable with. But medical writing definitely is a career that does require a lot of interaction. Question 3, regulatory documents are prescriptive and dull. I've actually had people ask me that, like, isn't regulatory writing so boring? And my answer is this is absolutely false. I would not have stayed in this career for over a decade if I found this to be true. While there are some documents that are more administrative than others, there are some documents that are a lot of kind of cut and paste and kind of weaving, kind of smoothing out the language from other documents. There are also a ton of documents, especially like the data heavy ones, where you're really trying to build in messaging. So starting from your clinical study report, starting to build in some of your key messages that you hope to eventually build up into your eventual product label. So there's a lot of strategy that goes around not only kind of how you're writing and how you're messaging your data, but like how you're actually presenting the data. So I actually find it very interesting, and there are definitely some types of documents where I've really gotten to be creative, which I didn't really expect in regulatory writing. So it's really a lot of fun. And again, some documents are more fun than others, but overall I find the kind of the documents as a whole to be really interesting to write. Question 4, being an expert in all of the relevant guidance documents is required. This is absolutely false. There are a ton of guidance documents out there, and they're regularly being updated. There are new guidance documents coming out. So really it would be impossible to be an expert in all of the relevant guidances. There are definitely some that you should be pretty familiar with, like ICH E6, which is your good clinical practices, ICH E3 if you're writing clinical study reports. But really the important thing to keep in mind is there are guidances out there for different document types, for different disease areas, for different aspects of study design. So it's important when you're working on a new project to basically go to Google and see if there are any relevant guidance documents. And if there are, read up on those as you're starting your project. All right, and question 5, it is impossible to get a job as a regulatory medical writer without experience. If you're currently on the job hunt, you may think this is true, but it's actually false. It is a little challenging. There are there's just so much work for regulatory medical writers, and a lot of companies are really strapped. They have so much work to do and not enough people to do it. Kind of bringing on someone without that experience and really having to train them and teach them all the skills necessary to do regulatory writing well. That's a huge time commitment on a company. So it's really about finding the right company and especially the right hiring manager who really likes training people and has the bandwidth to do that, or the support staff on their team to kind of help facilitate that, is really the key to finding a job without a ton of experience. But I will say, once you have regulatory writing experience, there's so much work. You will always be able to find another job. All right, well, I hope with that I answered some of the questions that you might have, or maybe disproved some of the common misconceptions. Hope that helped.